you love the woman, and, that's all that mattered to me, right? She was who she was. I am who I am. And I was willing to, pretty much kind of do most anything, obviously to just be with her, and, because we loved each other and I couldn't live without her. So, but, the kind of sudden introduction into it when it all really came to light was, what planet are we on now? I mean, I tried to entertain it, I gave it about 5 seconds worth of thought, and the things that I heard just floored me. And I just said, it's not for me. You do you. Okay. I'm not going to change you. I'm not going to change me. We're going to be together, and, we'll just, we'll get through this. Although secretly I was hoping maybe I could talk some sense into her later eventually. So.
And I thought I was going to convert him.
So we both had our agendas, but in the end, we just, we loved each other, and that's all that really mattered. So.
Yeah, when he first met me, he just accepted me for who I was. I came from, born and raised in the message, and I loved God. I wanted to know so much about the message, and I was one of those women that I didn't want to just be off and just separated from the fellowship. I started digging in and really reading the message and learning it inwards, outwards, backwards, reading everything I get my hands on, listening to anything I could, because I just wanted to be a part. I wanted to know everything. I didn't want to be ignorant and have someone tell me. I wanted to be the person that knew and I'm right there with you. I understand what you're saying, and I could follow along. So I knew it very well too. My challenges came, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, John, but I came from a very abusive marriage. We were trying to get away, and it took a lot of effort. This is a very sensitive topic, and I want to be very delicate to the people that I know. But I was even looking for a shelter to live. A lot of people try to steer me away from that because they said if I'm in a shelter, then my kids are exposed to, thieves and bed bugs, and they just said that's not the environment. So, I tried to turn to family. They helped, but it was always pushing me back, even though they didn't believe that they did, to my marriage. And then, there's so much that I can add to this that I just want to be sensitive again to the people that are involved. So I'll just kind of leave that out. People are welcome to reach out to me if you want to hear the whole story. I will definitely share. But ultimately, that is why I left my marriage. And in my mind, I believed that I would rather, because I met Michael shortly after I was trying to leave, right? And he was, it started off with just meeting, and then eventually it became to where I was living with him. I'm omitting a lot out. But, he didn't really know a whole lot, except for I wore dresses, didn't wear makeup, not allowed to cut my hair. I mean, he just knew very, very minimal things about me. And he accepted me for who I was, never tried to change me, never tried to put any pressure on me. He was very, very respectful. But in my mind, I believed that if we got married, because, I went through divorce too, that I would be okay with going to hell as long as my children were safe. And that's, when I look back on it, that's ridiculous. To feel like you have to live alone for the rest of your life or stay with your husband for the rest of your life, felt like a prison sentence. And I didn't want to be in that place. So to me, the reality was, I'll just be able to go to hell. I can live with this.
It's so hard. I can't even imagine being a female in this. I've done several of these stories now, and as you know, I've been working with male and female in the support groups. A lot of women went through similar things where they were in either an abusive relationship with their husband, or in some cases, they just weren't really a good fit for each other. But in the message, you're stuck. You make this decision. If you're female, you're stuck. And then depending on which flavor of the message you were in, some of the men could remarry, the women couldn't. And in other sects, you know, male and female, you could not. Can't even imagine what that was like. But in some cases, the people who are in the church will actually go after the children of the woman who has been, you know, separated from the husband. Did that happen to you?
Yes. Some of my family members advised my two oldest daughters, which at the time they were adults, that because I was living in sin, which would mean in a relationship with my husband now, that I was sinning against God, that I was living in sin, that they could not be a part of that, because they're adults. And, I did get to talk to them very briefly, but they maintained a wall towards me because, you know, they were afraid. They were afraid of any influence because, you know, they were advised that I had a demon on me, or I was possessed with spirits, and, you know, so they had to be really careful when they talked to me. And I think a lot of the things when we would communicate, they read and helped them to respond, because it didn't sound like my kids when they would respond back to me. I have 5 children, and so that is also, it's very hard for a mother that has had no education. And you're kind of raised, not kind of, you're raised to be barefoot in the kitchen, and education was not encouraged, not for us, not for women. So, you know, when I tried to leave to go on my own, it was either a shelter. I looked for weeks and weeks for battered women, alternatives, just to find somewhere to live with my kids. I was trying to live on my own because I wanted to do the right thing. And then that's when I met Michael, and that my story kind of evolves from there too. But, yeah, it was hard because they were also advised that it was best for them to stay with their dad. And at the time, John, you feel free to take this out if you don't feel that it's necessary to fit the story. But at the time, they were
Neglected.
John, they were neglected. It was horrible.
That must have been so difficult to watch your children be taken away from you like that. And, you know, you're the mother. I know that in every religion, there are marital issues, so we can't say that it's directly applied to the message, but I do know that at least from what the people have told me who have been in this and who have escaped, as soon as the male or female decides to leave the cult or decides not to adhere to the cult's rules, a lot of times they're severed as a parent, and then the children are no longer even emotionally connected to them. And sometimes the well-being of the child is not really thought through in those cases.